Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel. I kindly ask those of you who haven't subscribed yet to please subscribe, and if you enjoy the content, do leave a like and feel free to comment. Today's topic is about the seemingly absurd logic of women leading up to marriage. When I mention absurd, keep in mind, as I often reiterate in my videos, apologies for the repetition, this serves as a self-defense mechanism in case someone with a critical perspective stumbles upon this and tries to engage in a moral debate or anything of that nature. That here we don't make moral judgments, here we work with stimuli and rewards in the environment and the serious consequences of this for society. So, what I am going to discuss here is the linear thinking that women possess regarding their life notions about constructing their personal and professional lives and so forth until they eventually get married. This approach is something they are engaging in, and it carries a huge likelihood of failing, which is already occurring with women who are over the age of 30. And I'll explain why, because I've been mapping this out over the past few years. I've managed to grasp this absurd logic. Despite how challenging it is, it's a very complex subject, and I want to share this with you, and you see it for yourself. Remembering that I'm not the owner of the truth, here on this channel, not just me, but the people who comment and participate too, bring clippings of reality through reports, personal experiences, literature, and so on, of what is actually happening to society in these 20 years that we are entering in the 21 stone century. If you look at the logic of women today until they get married, almost all of them, there will be exceptions. That's what I mean. But the rule is they don't want kids before 30. So have a child when you want, make a child when you want. I'm just saying that the majority of women today in modern society don't want to be mothers before they're 30. That's a fact that's very easy to see. You can ask your single or dating friends who are dating, your ex-girlfriends, your girlfriends if you have any, and you'll see that hardly any woman today wants to be a mother before she's 30. The major issue is speeches by women, and not just women's speeches, but also many by men, those focused on making money, building businesses, relationships, and even political speeches, is that most are based on with a very certain and full assurance beforehand that it works and that it has worked at some point in time. However, in the case of women, their logic regarding marriage, I've concluded that this has never truly existed in the history of human civilization, yet they speak as if it were a natural cycle of life. When it comes to love, women in their belief about what true love is, I even made a video some time ago discussing what love means for modern women. In that way, they're like cattle, just as men are in thinking relationships in 2021 are like those in the 50s and 60s. They've observed their parents' and grandparents' relationships and still believe they can have that. Meanwhile, women today tend to be less conservative than men. So even if women have some conservative instincts of self-defense, that's a topic for another time. So what is the linear logic of women today, of most of what they're talking about? So what they're preaching, I'm not passing judgment, I'm just repeating here what the majority think, which you can easily see just as I said. They want to pursue their degree, alright? Perhaps they are considering a postgraduate degree as well. Those who are middle class or upper middle class often prefer to participate in an exchange program. This allows them to explore and get to know another place. Spending time abroad, in my opinion, is truly an incredible experience. And they too, after making this bet, and others, some will pursue an academic career aiming for a master's or doctorate. Others will opt for public service exams, while some will become entrepreneurs through e-commerce or start a physical business, wanting to fully enjoy life, you know. They don't want to openly admit, I want to be with as many people as possible. However, they don't see any issue with being single in this manner. They argue that they're being judged for something men do, and they're correct about that. Yet the men who can actually exercise the kind of options that the average woman has in Brazil today represent only about 5% of the male population in Brazil. So if they said, oh, I'm doing what 5 to 1% of men do, then their statement would be accurate. This mistaken belief that women have, thinking all men are hunks, is a major female delusion. 80 to 85% of men in Brazil earn up to 2 minimum wages, unless the guy has incredibly rare genetics, which is uncommon in Brazil due to preference, the ethnic diversity and the body and facial symmetry of Brazilian women. Brazil is a country of short men too, etc. Everyone knows that women here in Brazil have a very Eurocentric standard of male beauty. That's true all over the world, right? Women too. I'm going to make a video all about male beauty. But Asian women and so on too, and Latinas in general have this view too. So the number of men who are really attractive, who are capacious in Brazil is tiny. If men in Brazil had more physical beauty and more money, most of them would certainly be practicing this slutty behavior. But since they don't have that, most of them live in a sexual desert. So women, they want to exercise their bachelorhood, clinging to the discourse that they are imitating men, but only a few men. Itato are able to do this because of Brazil's inequality and the average ugliness of Brazilians and Brazilian men. And then when someone nice comes along, they want to date. But even in a monogamous relationship, they want to travel as much as possible with their boyfriend, enjoy themselves with those little phrases about a casual relationship, I don't know what. In short, they don't even want to think about marriage. Women are unlikely to want to get married before 30 either, with a few exceptions. Very close to 30, 28, 29, 30. So, alright, and having children before the age of 30, that's out of the question. Marriage should be as close to 30 as possible. In some situations, even after reaching 30, and then having children at 35. Anyway, I must say, of course, that I haven't made any judgments about this until now. I'm specifically discussing the perspective and discourse on this matter. But what exactly is the absurd logic behind this discourse? There are two reasons. Firstly, they say it with the complete certainty that this is the natural order of life. They claim that the key to happiness is to enjoy life while you're still young and not to marry young, but instead to have children after the age of 30. Apart from the fact that this logic is absurd due to its lack of historical basis, you don't see any society that has truly prospered by doing this. They believe that by saying these things they are being smart, trendy and progressive, breaking societal taboos and so forth. However, such a thing has never existed in human history. Generally speaking, they are attempting to create a society where until you reach 30, you mock yourself, and then after 30, you turn more conservative. This is unfeasible not only socially and civilizationally, but also because men no longer accept these imposed rules. So, of course, men still have a significant amount of cattle in Brazil, don't they? However, they might not accept it because nowadays women are earning their own income, pursuing their own careers, and are no longer financially reliant on men. But there is a major issue in this situation. I always mention that it's clear a woman could be earning 1,000,000 reais each month, yet she might not be able to be with a man who earns only 10,000, for instance, which is 100 times less than what she makes. On the other hand, you often see wealthy men choosing to be with unemployed women, provided they are attractive and at least minimally suitable as partners for a good relationship. Therefore, the logic that women are using doesn't have any counterpart in either ancient or modern history, so they are truly creating a new society. This trend began significantly with women at the close of the 80s who have now progressed into their 30s, and in the 90s, which is a topic I frequently address in many of my videos here. People from the 90s, who are the very first generation to really catch on to all the excitement and hype surrounding Instagram, smartphones, and other similar technologies. They fully embrace this discourse as their life programming. I've mentioned it, and Hakun also says about 5% of women are very redipolated and odd, but many won't speak out for fear of feminist backlash. I know more redipolated women, as Rakun mentions, who see what a joke this has become. I'm not suggesting they're unicorn women or conservative or good wives, no. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that these are women who understand all this nonsense we're discussing here and actually agree with it. It's not that we believe we hold the ultimate truth, but rather they agree they're witnessing the reality of the situation. In fact, 100% of them see the reality, but 95% behave like androids, like robots, much like the video I made the other day about the android-like behavior of women. People, they repeat the jargon they've learned from various bloggers and feminist pages, but they haven't really absorbed or understood the content that's been discussed here. So these more redeployed women, they know that this is all a decoy, a joke, that this kind of civilization won't exist, right? So they even laugh about it, even though some of them are even bosakas and victims of it. They at least recognize that there have been women here on my channel who have commented and so on. He ended up frustrated after the yes, also because of bad choices they made. These women are rare, but they do exist, right? So men have no influence on women's choices. They're actually stepping back from the game. As I mentioned, the female logic of marrying after 30 is, for example, 95% unaware of microchimerism. Both Coruja do Carvalho and I have said we're going to make a video about it. He mentioned he's making one, and I'm considering it too. It's a very complex topic with limited studies. These studies usually don't reach the media. They're more prevalent in the US. In this video, microchimerism is discussed, with some early studies identifying that women may acquire behaviors based on it's not RNA from men semen. This phenomenon was observable in various other species, including monkeys, mares, certain feline types, and some female felines, among others. However, there are already studies, albeit still in their early stages, investigating microchimerism in cowgirls in the United States who have passed away. These studies involve collecting DNA samples to examine what accumulations are present. Therefore, while it is still premature to draw definitive conclusions, some associations are beginning to emerge, okay? Association isn't cause and effect, it's just association, okay? It's much weaker than cause and effect. What I'm discussing isn't scientifically proven, they're just associations as it's new research, okay? Before someone hysterical claims that many women with borderline or bipolar behavior are due to too many men they've been with. In general social terms, everyone already knows that women, even men, pick up behaviors from their partners, and women even more so because of cytokines and other hormones pick them up from their partners. Only now they're looking more at this genetic key. So both from a genetic, biological, social, and civilizational point of view, this life plan for women, which is to fool around in their youth and college, masters, doctorate, you name it, do what you want. There are many women in academia who are doing truly remarkable work. However, don't assume that all of this, that it's this type of thing that you can achieve all of this and ultimately have the husband of your dreams waiting at the end. So that's the underlying message of everything I'm expressing. It's not that men are intimidated by independent women, nor that men are incapable of dating women who are independent. Just as you have the right to say that you don't want men for whatever reason, whether it's because he's poor, short, ugly, boring, fat, whatever you want to say, men also have the right not to want to date for whatever reason, and no one is obliged to stay with anyone. And then we'll see who will cope better with loneliness, whether it's the men or the women. I'm certain that men, after reaching the age of 30, become much better at handling loneliness. I'd even stake my life and all my wealth on it. I've witnessed a great deal of male suffering, and I believe it primarily occurs during breakups rather than from a lack of romance. Men tend to suffer more when they experience a harsh breakup rather than simply missing their girlfriend. It's often more about a sexual need, as I've previously discussed in a video. So, as we move into the final stretch and wrap up the video, let's discuss this logic of women. They have whatever logic they choose, no matter how absurd it might seem. They don't have historical ties and truly want to invent a new civilization centered on feminism and modernity. These are the modernettes, as Don Sandro often mentions, and Miguel from Attitude Alpha talks about too. This modernette trembling, it just doesn't work. This doesn't work due to no historical link. Women who began this in the late 80s, now over 30, some even from 90% are 31 today. They're already enduring the Holocaust of the stranded. So, do whatever you desire. I sincerely wish all the women there every possible success in their careers. Make money, make groundbreaking discoveries, and contribute to society's development. However, don't depend on the notion of the perfect family, the dream wedding, and everything else, because only an absolute minority will reach this, as there's no way to mix conservatism with modernity, progress, an academic career, all of that, okay? It just doesn't add up. I'm not saying that it could, how sad that it doesn't, but it just doesn't add up, okay? A big hug to everyone.